All right, everyone. Welcome back, and we're very luckily joined by number eight ranked bantamweight Sara McMann. Sarah, really appreciate you giving us some time. I know you just finished class, so really appreciate it. Look, first question we want to ask you and get straight into it is, as being one of the most credentialed grapplers in the UFC, what sort of adjustments did you have to make to your wrestling style when transitioning from wrestling into MMA?
So for me, it wasn't a bad transition to MMA. I really more had to learn the other sports, but there's only a few things that I really just decided I couldn't take from the wrestling skills that I had and use them in MMA. I think that the biggest thing is before I would use a high crotch or high C to finish takedowns, and I just kind of I just steered away from that a lot more. And so I'll still do double legs, I'll still do single legs, but I don't do as many high Cs. And that's probably one of the few things that I haven't taken with. But everything else, once I started learning the striking and how to slip punches, a lot of the wrestling is almost exactly the same.
Yeah, for sure. So Sarah, as someone who has competed at the highest levels of MMA and wrestling, how do you overcome periods of maybe self-doubt or when under extreme mental pressure right before the event or the competition?
I have a couple different methods to kind of take the pressure off me. And one is probably I don't know if it would help everybody else, but I just diminish the importance. I'm like, you know what? I mean, before it's one of my biggest matches in wrestling, I'm like, man, people don't even care about women's wrestling. This is when women's wrestling was really young. I was like, they're probably don't even care. This is just, I do this for me because I'm the only one that really cares about the results. But, they may not even see the results, but as I got a little older, I really understood that everybody who cares about me and loves me and supports me, they do that regardless of the outcome of my results. That's it. And anybody who doesn't like me or doesn't support me, I could win every single thing. I could do it flawlessly and they would still dislike me. So once I felt none of the really important things, like the love and the friendship and the good, deep things that you get in life mattered on my results, I stopped caring about that in that way. It took a lot of that pressure off.
Sarah, obviously the sport has grown so much over the last decade, more so, and especially in women's MMA, it's grown leaps and bounds since probably you first got into it. So, in your experience, what's kind of been the biggest change you've noticed from in your training from when you first started MMA to sort of now?
So I'm happy that I've been able to grow with women's MMA, and I think that it's it first started out where girls were almost a little bit more specialists in one of the arts. And then the same thing as me, and they learned the other sports. And now I think that we're seeing the influx of all the girls who started training MMA. So they don't have hiccups in between their striking and their wrestling. Some of the people who've learned the sports individually. And they seem to have a better sense of some of the threats where a striker might get caught up in the striking and forget about takedowns momentarily, or a wrestler might, forget about jiu-jitsu threats and think more wrestling, some of those ingrained, muscle memory habits might still be there. Whereas if you only have ever done MMA, you don't have those as much.
Yeah, for sure. So, Sarah, you're slated next to fight Aspen Ladd. As an opponent, does that matchup excite you? As I know you were pretty vocal about wanting that Jermaine Durandamy fight.
Yeah, I mean, I still am excited. I still think it's a good opponent, and I'm still fully keeping my eyes on the prize and fully training just for her. But I will say, initially I was a little disappointed because I thought I could get that fight or Raquel Pennington. She called me out as well. So, and Raquel's ranked higher. But it's not the matchup of the person. And I really couldn't care less who I fight. I'm fighting people based on rankings because I want to climb. And if I keep fighting people that are below my rankings, I just won't advance. So it's not really personal matchups or an individual person. it's nothing. If I call someone out, I don't care anything about you. I'm not like trying to insult you or whatever. I just want to be your ranking. So,
of course. Yeah. Sarah, obviously we know you just finished the kids' afternoon class, and I'm sure you must enjoy that. So, is teaching the kids, something that you still want to do even after it's all said and done, and you're away from the sport, everything's finished. You still want to continue, coaching the kids in the afternoon?
I think so. There's certain enjoyment, even though like I don't get the chance to teach them like higher level wrestling moves, just not there yet. So it's like the skill set that I know is just not, I'm not able to do it, but they bring a certain like enthusiasm to sport that like really rubs off on me, like the ones who are in there, like I see their little like determined faces, and they're like doing hard stuff and they're enjoying it, and it kind of helps me to remember to enjoy it too. So it's like it's a positive effect in my sports and in life.
Yeah, for sure. So, Sarah, we saw that back in May, you actually got up on stage and did a bit of a comedy routine. So how was that experience? And do you think maybe after fighting, we could see Sara McMann with her own comedy special down the line?
So I said it's a one and done kind of thing. I really did enjoy it though, but man, it did make me pretty nervous. And it's difficult. Like, I'm not that funny of a person. If I'm just being honest, even when I tell regular jokes, I'm only kind of like medium funny, some hit, some miss.
Yeah. So, what was more nervous than going before a fight or before the comedy show?
What'd you say? What am I more nervous for?
Yeah. What was more nerve-wracking?
Definitely. So definitely a fight, but I was more nervous preparing for the comedy.
Yeah.
When I actually I'm still more nervous for a fight, because nobody's trying to injure, like that.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, no matter how bad this comedy routine goes, I'm not going to go to the ER. So,
yeah, of course. Of course.
But when I was preparing, like, I don't like to do things poorly. So I was really trying to do very well at it. And that's like, I cared about how I did. So I practiced and I did my routine in front of as many people as I possibly could. And I had my friends, a couple other comedians, help me out. And so like, I took it very seriously because so I was a theater major in college and I know what it's like to freeze on stage. And I was like, that was the biggest thing that worried me. I was like, oh man, I don't want to go out there and just like forget everything because I have no one to say. It's like a 10-minute monologue. So I made sure that I had rehearsed it well enough.
Yeah, of course. Sarah, obviously next weekend we have the big rematch in your division with Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes rematching. How do you see this fight playing around the second time around?
So I think it'll go 5 rounds. I don't think it's going to be like it was before. I think that Amanda's going to come back and show more of the style that we'd seen in other fights. Now, who's going to get their hand raised at the end of those 5 rounds? Like, I'm just not sure. I would have probably picked Amanda just because of like her dominating style, and I think she just, even in the first round, it didn't seem like she took Juliana very seriously, and she should have. But she switched camps, and that sometimes, man, like that, sometimes that's not the right move. I don't know the circumstances. Maybe that was the right move, but I don't know. I've moved camps a couple times, and I can definitely tell you there's like sometimes there's a dip in performance before you start performing well, and you might end up better ultimately, but sometimes there's a dip before that happens.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, Sarah, last question from us, and we really appreciate your time today. So, Sarah, firstly, your combat sports career is truly remarkable, considering you're 3rd of all time for the most victory in the bantamweight division, as well as your incredibly credentialed wrestling career. And coming off your latest win against Carol Rosa, do you see a finish line at all in your career, or is it more of a case of you're going to continue to compete as long as you're healthy mentally and physically and love doing this, of course?
So it's probably the second. I keep thinking that I see a finish line, but since I've been 36, I've been like, I really can only do this for a couple more years. And then a couple years goes by, and I'm like, I definitely only have a couple more years because I keep thinking my body will give out, and thankfully it hasn't.
Yeah.
But I do know, like I I have a whole lot of gratitude for what I do, because I know I'm just one career-ending injury away from hanging it up. So every time I step out there, I feel so happy, and I feel like really blessed to still be in it and going with some of the young, top hungry contenders in the world and winning. So I'll probably just keep doing it until my body or my mind is like, okay, enough.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, look, Sara, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate you giving us some time after doing some coaching. We wish you all the best of luck in your fight camp, preparing for your next fight against Aspen Lad. And we'd love to have you on again after that fight.
I appreciate it. Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sara.
Awesome. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.